They thought they had him cornered. Every trap set, every move calculated to bring him down. But what happened next? No one saw it coming. The deep state played their cards. Trump was about to play his entire deck, and the world would never be the same. Washington, D.C., the epicenter of political power, the heart of the establishment. Within these marble halls, decisions are made that shake nations. But today, something different was brewing, something unprecedented. The air was thick with tension. Whispers echoed through corridors of power. Bureaucrats clutched their folders tighter. Lobbyists exchanged nervous glances. Donald Trump was walking into the lion's den again. His motorcade rolled through the streets. Supporters lined the sidewalks, waving flags, chanting his name. The energy was electric, cameras positioned at every angle, media vultures circling, waiting for their moment. Inside the vehicle, Trump sat calm, composed, a slight smile on his face. He'd been here before, faced worse odds, survived greater storms. The building loomed ahead, imposing, intimidating, designed to make people feel small, but not him, never him. As the door opened, Trump stepped out. The flash of cameras erupted like lightning. His stride, confident, purposeful, unwavering, the red tie, his signature, the posture, commanding, every step deliberate, every movement calculated. Security flanked him on both sides, but Trump needed no protection from the truth. He carried it with him. His team followed, briefcases in hand, documents prepared. This wasn't just another appearance. This was history in the making. The establishment had laid their traps, investigations, indictments, media campaigns, character assassinations, every weapon in their arsenal deployed. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated him. Again, the mainstream media had their narrative ready, headlines pre-written, talking points distributed. Trump finally cornered, they whispered. This time he can't escape, analysts predicted on cable news. Panel after panel of so-called experts, all agreeing, all confident, all wrong. CNN had their graphics prepared, MSNBC, their commentary scripted. The Washington Post, their hit pieces polished and ready to publish. Anonymous sources cited, unnamed officials quoted, the same playbook they'd run for years. Political opponents rubbed their hands together. This was it, they thought, the beginning of the end. The deep state apparatus hummed with satisfaction. Bureaucrats who'd spent careers building their power networks felt vindicated. Their plan was working. Or so they believed. Late-night comedians had their jokes written. Hollywood elites prepared their victory tweets. The establishment machine was in full motion, coordinated, synchronized, overwhelming. Senate chambers buzzed with anticipation. Democrats prepared speeches. Rhinos positioned themselves for maximum media exposure. The swamp creatures emerged from the shadows, sensing blood in the water. Intelligence agencies leaked selectively. Justice Department insiders fed carefully crafted narratives to friendly reporters. Social media platforms adjusted their algorithms. Fact-checkers stood ready. Censorship teams on high alert. The entire system aligned against one man. Years of investigations, millions of taxpayer dollars spent, countless hours of congressional hearings, mountains of subpoenas, an avalanche of accusations. They built their case carefully, methodically, layer upon layer of complexity designed to confuse, to overwhelm, to intimidate. Lawfare at its finest, legal traps within traps, each designed to ensnare, to entangle, to destroy. But there was something they didn't account for. Trump's unwillingness to play by their rules, his refusal to be intimidated, his absolute commitment to fighting back. They thought they understood him, studied him, predicted his moves. They were about to learn they understood nothing. The moment arrived. Trump entered the chamber, every seat filled, every eye locked on him. The silence was deafening. You could hear hearts beating, breath held, anticipation crackling like electricity. This was the moment they'd engineered, the trap sprung, the net closing. Then Trump smiled, not a nervous smile, not a worried smile, a confident, knowing smile. He reached into his folder, pulled out documents, placed them on the podium. The room leaned forward collectively. What was this? This wasn't in their script. This wasn't how cornered men behaved. Trump began to speak, his voice clear, strong, unwavering. You want to talk about corruption? Let's talk about corruption. The words hung in the air. Eyes widened, throats tightened. He started presenting facts, dates, names, transactions, evidence they never expected him to have, evidence that flipped the entire narrative. The deep state's own machinations exposed, their coordination revealed. The paper trail they thought was hidden. Trump had it all: declassified documents, testimony transcripts, communication records, email chains, financial transactions, every piece meticulously organized, every fact verified, every claim backed by hard evidence. He moved through the presentation like a prosecutor, methodical, devastating, connecting dots they thought would never be connected, showing patterns they believed were invisible, exposing relationships they assumed would stay hidden, name after name, agency after agency, operation after operation. The surveillance they used against him, documented, the false testimonies exposed, the media coordination revealed in black and white, emails between reporters and intelligence officials, text messages between bureau chiefs and political operatives. The whole apparatus laid bare. Trump's team had prepared for this moment. While the deep state built their traps, Trump's people built the case. While they leaked to friendly media, his team gathered evidence. While they thought they controlled the game, Trump was changing the rules entirely. Every trap they set, he saw it coming. Every narrative they pushed, he had the counter evidence. Every witness they threatened into testimony, he had their recantation statements ready. The room began to shift. Confident smirks faded. Assured postures slouched. The hunters becoming the hunted. The trappers caught in their own devices. Pandemonium, absolute pandemonium. The carefully orchestrated event imploded. Reporters frantically typed, deleting their prepared stories, scrambling to comprehend what was happening. Producers screamed into earpieces. Live feeds cut to confused anchors. We're getting reports of, we're not sure exactly. The establishment figures in the room sat frozen, faces drained of color, mouths slightly open, eyes wide with disbelief. This wasn't possible. This wasn't the plan. How did he get those documents? How did he know those details? Who was feeding him information from inside their own system? Panic rippled through the deep state network. Phones buzzed, emergency calls made, secure channels activated, damage control teams assembled. But the damage was done, live, on camera, recorded for posterity, no taking it back, no spin sophisticated enough to undo what just happened. Media outlets switched to commercial. Abruptly, suspiciously, when they returned, anchors stumbled through commentary. We need to verify. Sources are telling us this is unprecedented. Translation, they had no idea what to say. Their talking points useless, their narrative shattered, social media exploded, Trump supporters celebrating, sharing clips, creating memes at lightning speed. The algorithm tried to suppress it, too big, too fast, too overwhelming, trending worldwide within minutes. Deep state exposed, Trump was right, it's an unstoppable president. Opposition politicians rushed to microphones, their statements incoherent, contradictory, defensive. We need to investigate these claims, and they stammered, the irony lost on no one. Years of investigating Trump, and now they needed to investigate themselves. Legal analysts appeared on split screens, usually so confident, now confused, contradicting each other. Well, if these documents are authentic, everything was authentic. Trump's legal team sat calm, almost amused. They'd known this was coming, prepared for months. While the media called them conspiracy theorists, they were building an ironclad case. While the establishment mocked their claims, they were verifying every source. Now vindication tasted sweet. The bureaucrats who orchestrated the operations against Trump, suddenly unreachable, taking sick days, hiring lawyers, deleting emails, but too late by miles. The evidence was secured, archived, backed up, distributed. No amount of deletion could erase it now. In Congress, emergency sessions called, but to discuss what? The evidence was clear, the coordination undeniable, the deep state's fingerprints all over everything. Some politicians tried defending the indefensible, others went silent. The smart ones started distancing themselves immediately. This was Trump at his absolute finest, the master tactician, the ultimate strategist, the man who saw 12 moves ahead while others struggled with the current moment. Every attack they launched against him, he'd absorbed it, studied it, learned from it, prepared his counter. For years, they called him reckless, impulsive, unpredictable. They were half right, unpredictable, yes, but to them, to his enemies, every move that seemed chaotic, calculated, every tweet that appeared spontaneous, strategic, every controversy that looked like a mistake, misdirection. While the deep state felt confident in their superiority, Trump was building his network, loyal patriots embedded throughout the system, whistleblowers who'd seen enough corruption, career professionals disgusted by what their agencies had become, good people who believed in America, not bureaucracy. They fed him information, documented everything, created parallel records. When official documents disappeared, copies existed elsewhere. When investigations were buried, other investigators kept working. When the truth was suppressed, it was preserved for the right moment. This moment, Trump's genius wasn't just in gathering evidence, it was in timing. He could have released this information earlier, could have fought back immediately, but that wouldn't have the same impact. Instead, he waited. Let them become confident, overconfident. Let them believe their traps were working. Let them commit fully to their narrative. Then, when they were most exposed, most vulnerable, most convinced of victory, he struck, devastating, complete, overwhelming, not just defending himself, dismantling the entire apparatus that targeted him, exposing the system itself, the courage required, immense, the pressure he endured, unimaginable. His family attacked, his businesses targeted, his supporters harassed, years of relentless assault. Lesser men would have broken, would have quit, would have accepted a deal. Not Trump, never Trump. He doesn't surrender, doesn't back down, doesn't compromise when principle is at stake. Every insult strengthened his resolve. Every false accusation sharpened his focus. Every betrayal clarified who was loyal. Every obstacle revealed another path forward. The art of the deal, this was it, the ultimate negotiation. Not with the deep state. You don't negotiate with corruption. The negotiation was with history itself. And history will record this moment, when one man stood against an entire system, when truth confronted lies, when courage faced cowardice, when the American people's champion refused to let them down. His posture during the presentation, relaxed but commanding. His voice, steady but powerful. His demeanor, confident but not arrogant. Facts don't need arrogance. Truth doesn't require embellishment. Justice speaks for itself, and Trump simply gave it a voice. The establishment's greatest fear realized, not just Trump surviving, Trump thriving, Trump exposing, Trump victorious, unbeatable. Just when it seemed the revelations were complete, Trump paused, looked directly at the cameras. But there's more. 3 words. The room gasped. More? How could there be more? They were already drowning, already exposed. What else could possibly exist? Trump nodded to his legal team. A senior attorney approached the podium, placed a tablet on display, screen projected for all to see, video footage, time-stamped, high quality, verified, authentic, meetings that supposedly never happened, conversations that were allegedly fabricated, coordination that was dismissed as conspiracy theory, all of it. Right there, undeniable, crystal clear, high-ranking officials meeting with media executives, intelligence agents coaching reporters on questions, political operatives providing scripts to supposed independent analysts, the whole charade exposed in living color, audio included, No denying, no spinning, no escaping. But the twist went deeper. Some of the people in those videos currently serving in positions of power, currently testifying in other investigations, currently claiming ignorance, currently under oath in other proceedings, perjury implications immediate, catastrophic, career-ending, freedom-threatening. The deep state operatives realized the true scope of their exposure. This wasn't just about Trump anymore. This was about their own legal jeopardy, their own criminal liability, their own potential prosecution. The tables completely turned, the investigators becoming the investigated, the accusers becoming the accused. Legal experts immediately recognized the implications. If this evidence is used in a grand jury, oh, it would be. If prosecutions are initiated based on this, they would be. If this leads to a broader investigation, it already was. Trump's team had been working with honest prosecutors for months, building cases, preparing indictments, waiting for the right moment. This was that moment. The attorney at the podium began reading names, people who would be receiving subpoenas. Organizations facing investigation, media outlets whose editorial decisions would be scrutinized, the scope breathtaking, the implications staggering. This wasn't defensive, this was offensive, complete offensive. Trump had turned their greatest strength into his weapon. They controlled the institutions. He had the evidence of institutional corruption. They had the media. He had proof of media collusion. They had the agencies. He had documentation of agency abuse. Every advantage they held became their liability. The genius of it stunned even his supporters. They hoped he'd defend himself effectively. They prayed he'd survive their onslaught. But this was beyond survival. This was dominance. This was total victory. This was the deep state experiencing what it felt like to be targeted by an investigation. Poetic justice at its finest. Opponents who minutes ago were confident now consulted lawyers. Media figures who were preparing celebration segments now faced legal exposure. Bureaucrats who felt untouchable now understood vulnerability. The power dynamic shifted so dramatically, so completely, the shockwave would ripple for years. Outside, the crowds erupted. Supporters who'd gathered, hoping for strength, received vindication. Cheers echoed through the streets, horns honked, flags waved, spontaneous celebrations broke out. This was their moment too. Years of being called conspiracy theorists, years of being mocked for believing, years of being censored for speaking truth. They were right all along, right about the coordination, right about the corruption, right about the targeting, right about everything, the validation overwhelming, tears of joy, hugs among strangers, shared triumph, united celebration. This was what they'd waited for, what they'd fought for, what they'd believed would come. Social media became a tidal wave. Every platform flooded with reactions. Videos shared millions of times, clips analyzed frame by frame, quotes turned into graphics, memes celebrating truth. The algorithm couldn't contain it. Too organic, too genuine, too widespread. Censorship teams gave up. What could they do? Shut down the entire internet? Trump was right, trended worldwide, not just in America, globally, people around the world watching, seeing what courage looks like, witnessing what fighting back produces, observing what happens when truth confronts corruption, international supporters celebrating, foreign patriots inspired, the movement growing beyond borders. Major rallies spontaneously organized within hours, no central planning needed, grassroots energy explosive. Veterans showed up in uniform, families brought children, workers left jobs early, students skipped classes, the American people responding to their champion's victory. His fight was their fight, his win was their win. Conservative media outlets worked overtime, special coverage, extended programming, expert panels analyzing every detail, legal breakdowns, historical context, constitutional implications. Finally, they could report truth without being called liars. Evidence in hand, facts verified, victory achieved. Even some mainstream outlets, desperate for credibility, began covering honestly. Not all. Many doubled down on denial. but cracks appeared. Journalists with remaining integrity asked real questions. How did we miss this? Why didn't we investigate? Who was controlling our coverage? Internal civil wars erupted in newsrooms. Churches held prayer services, thanking God for justice, for truth prevailing, for corruption exposed. Faith communities recognized the spiritual dimension. This wasn't just political, this was good versus evil, light versus darkness, truth versus lies, and truth was winning. Trump merchandise sales exploded, websites crashed from traffic, hat factories couldn't keep up, flag manufacturers ran out of inventory, economic celebration matching emotional celebration. People wanted to show support, display allegiance, celebrate openly. Pride in their president, pride in their movement, pride in their vindication. Political opponents faced backlash, town halls disrupted, office phones ringing off the hook, constituents demanding answers, demanding accountability, demanding justice. The people's voice amplified, emboldened, energized, democracy in action, citizens holding representatives accountable the way it should be. But if you think this is the end of the story, you don't know Trump. This wasn't the finale, this was the beginning. The opening move in a much larger game, the exposure of the deep state, just phase one. What comes next will reshape American politics for generations. Trump's team already prepared the next steps. Legislation drafted, executive actions planned, prosecutorial referrals ready. This evidence wasn't gathered just for vindication. It was gathered for reformation, for transformation, for permanently dismantling the corrupt systems that targeted him and the American people. Congressional allies received their briefings, patriots in the House and Senate now armed with irrefutable facts, committee hearings scheduled, investigations launched, real ones this time, not political witch hunts, genuine accountability measures, subpoena power about to be used appropriately, finally. Federal prosecutors in key districts received referrals, not political prosecutions. Criminal investigations based on actual evidence. Grand juries would convene, indictments would be issued, trials would proceed, justice would be served, the rule of law restored, not weaponized against opponents, applied equally to corruption. Trump's next rally already scheduled. The crowds would be massive, historic, the energy unprecedented. He would speak directly to the American people. No media filter, no establishment spin, raw communication, leader to citizens, champion to supporters, president to patriots. What he announces there will genhan the political landscape. The 2024 implications obvious. Momentum building, unstoppable force gaining speed, opponents scrambling, trying to regroup, attempting new strategies. But how do you fight truth? How do you combat evidence? How do you defeat vindication? You can't, they won't. Donors flooding campaigns, small dollar contributions breaking records, grassroots fundraising overwhelming, the people voting with their wallets, investing in their champion, fueling the movement, ensuring the fight continues, guaranteeing the victory expands, financial resources matching political momentum, media trying to regain control of narrative, emergency strategy sessions, new talking points developed, fresh angles attempted. Yes, but what about deflection, distraction, desperation? None of it working. The audience sees through it. The people know the truth. The game is over. International implications emerging. Foreign leaders taking notice. America's deep state exposed. Other nations asking questions about their own systems, global establishment nervous. If it happened in America, could it happen elsewhere? Patriots worldwide watching, learning, planning, the movement spreading. Tech companies facing new scrutiny, their censorship exposed, their bias documented, their coordination revealed, new regulations coming, antitrust actions pending, the digital town square about to be liberated, free speech making a comeback, truth no longer suppressed, voices no longer silenced. This is only the beginning. The exposure was necessary. The vindication was deserved. But the reformation, that's what's coming. Trump didn't just survive the deep state. He didn't just expose them. He's about to dismantle them piece by piece, system by system, institution by institution. Watch what happens next. Trump walked out of that chamber different than when he entered. Not changed. He was always this strong, but perceived differently. The world saw what his supporters always knew. This man doesn't lose. This man doesn't quit. This man doesn't bow to corruption ever. The cameras captured his exit, confident stride, slight smile, total composure. Behind him, chaos, reporters shouting questions, officials in stunned silence, opponents in visible distress. But ahead of him, victory, justice, vindication, the American people waiting, ready to celebrate their champion. His motorcade rolled through Washington streets again, but this time different. Larger crowds, louder cheers, more flags, more celebration. Even in the heart of the swamp, patriots emerged, showed support, demonstrated allegiance, the deep state's home territory invaded by truth, by courage, by Trump. History will remember this day, when one man faced the full weight of corrupted institutions, when courage confronted conspiracy, when truth defeated lies, when the American people's champion delivered, not just for himself, for them, for every citizen targeted by their own government, for every voice silenced by censorship, for every patriot called an extremist. The establishment learned a hard lesson. You can't break what refuses to bend. You can't destroy what fights back. You can't defeat what represents something greater than itself. Trump isn't just a man. He's a movement, an idea, a rebellion against tyranny, a stand for freedom. Every attack made him stronger. Every scandal made him wiser. Every betrayal made him more determined. Every obstacle made him more strategic. They threw everything at him. Multiple impeachments, endless investigations, media assassination, social media censorship, legal warfare, financial targeting. They used every weapon and he defeated them all. Every single one, not just survived, thrived, not just endured, dominated, not just persisted, conquered. The deep state's worst nightmare realized, their greatest fear confirmed. They can't stop him. They never could. They never will. His supporters understood this all along, believed when belief wasn't easy, trusted when trust wasn't popular, stood firm when standing alone, fought back when fighting seemed futile. They knew their champion, recognized his strength, believed in his mission, and they were right. The man who descended the golden escalator years ago, dismissed as a joke, mocked as unserious, labeled impossible, that man just destroyed the most powerful corrupt network in American history. The outsider defeated the insiders. The businessman outmaneuvered the politicians. The patriot exposed the traitors. Donald Trump entered the lion's den, faced the deep state traps, confronted their coordination, challenged their corruption, and emerged not just unscathed, not just vindicated, totally, completely, absolutely unbeatable. The legend grows, the movement expands, the mission continues, and the best is yet to come, because Trump doesn't just win battles, he wins wars. Doesn't just survive attacks, he destroys attackers, doesn't just make comebacks, he makes history. They tried to stop him, failed. They tried to silence him, failed. They tried to destroy him, failed. Every attempt, every scheme, every trap failed. And now they face the consequences. Now they experience accountability. Now they learn what justice feels like. Trump proved the impossible is possible. The system can be challenged. The establishment can be defeated. The people can win. Hope restored, faith rewarded, truth victorious, America awakened, the swamp exposed, the deep state defied, the champion unbeatable. This is Trump. This is MAGA. This is America fighting back. And this is only the beginning. Unstoppable, undeniable, unbeatable.